What began as a peaceful meeting ended with a massacre. On the morning of 16 August 1819, St. Peter's Field in Manchester filled like a sea. Estimates put the crowd at 60,000. Families arrived with banners. Cotton workers stood beside weavers. Men who had fought in the Napoleonic Wars walked with apprentices who had never voted. They had come to hear Henry Orator Hunt advocate reform. They had come to demand representation in Parliament. They had not come to die. England in 1819 felt like a pressure cooker. The Napoleonic Wars had ended in 1815. The Corn Laws and post-war recession left grain expensive and wages low. Factory towns in Lancashire swelled, while parliamentary seats remained tied to rotten boroughs in the countryside. Radical societies organized open-air meetings because they were barred from the halls that mattered. According to local pamphlets and the Manchester Observer, the meeting was lawful and orderly. Local magistrates, led by William Hulton, feared riot and sedition. The magistrates carried pistols. The magistrates summoned the Manchester and Salford Yeomanry, local volunteer cavalry made up of tradesmen and shopkeepers, along with regular troops from the 15th Hussars. As the sun climbed, Henry Hunt spoke. Men and women listened on hay bales and church steps. Speakers read the names of the unemployed. Speakers read the list of grievances. Around noon, magistrates decided to arrest Hunt. That decision, recorded later in court affidavits and witness testimony, was the fuse. The yeomanry moved in. They were not professional soldiers. They were local men on borrowed horses, sabers flashing. The first charge was clumsy and brutal. The crowd panicked. Children were crushed. Women were thrown to the ground. Witnesses later testified to sabers slicing through clothing and flesh. The regular cavalry followed. Chaos spread. At once, the meeting was transformed. Voices turned to screams. The great mass of people became an obstacle course. According to the coroner's inquest and contemporary reports, at least 15 people were found dead by dusk. Hundreds were wounded. Bodies lay under banners. Blood soaked white shirts. The press would name the event Peterloo, a savage pun coined by James Rowe of the Manchester Observer, invoking Waterloo to condemn the slaughter of civilians. But what inquests and newspapers revealed next would change everything. The coroner's jury returned verdicts that explicitly blamed the sabers and the military for many of the deaths. Court records show witnesses who described magistrates giving the order to disperse and the cavalry charging without clear military necessity. Yet the official reaction in Westminster was not contrition. Instead, authorities in London and Manchester used the outrage to justify a crackdown. In December 1819, Parliament passed the so-called Six Acts, harsh laws designed to smother meetings, speed trials, and curb the radical press. Henry Hunt was arrested on the field and charged with seditious conspiracy. He was later sentenced to 2 years in prison. Local government officials, including William Hulton, faced no criminal charges. The Manchester Observer was silenced under legal pressure, and a wave of prosecutions against radical journalists followed. The men who wielded sabers returned to their towns and shops. Some were praised in official dispatches. Others were vilified in songs and pamphlets. The immediate human cost was raw. The deeper cost unfolded over decades. Peterloo seared into the collective memory of reformers across Britain. It helped galvanize the movement that would eventually force the Reform Act of 1832, an act that redistributed seats and extended the franchise, though never as far as many in Manchester had demanded. The massacre also made visible a new political truth, that a state frightened of its people could turn its own volunteers into instruments of slaughter. Years later, visits to St. Peter's Field were pilgrimages. Plaques were erected. Commemorative poems and broadsides kept the names of the dead alive. The authorities who ordered the cavalry never faced the kind of trial their victims deserved. The law suppressed the loudest voices for a time, but the memory of sabers against a peaceful crowd would not be legislated away. A peaceful petition turned into a public execution by cavalry. The silk banners of reform would outlast the red coats that tried to silence them. The question that lingered in English towns long after the blood had dried was this: how many unarmed citizens must be cut down before a state admits it has become the enemy it feared?